Hi, I'm Deb from DG Reads, and this is my furry sidekick, Kylie. I am not 100% sure if this video is going to actually make it out to the public, but a few lovely people have been encouraging me to try my hand in the booktube community, and I figured a 48-hour readathon is a good time to give it a try. So here we are. Hi, I'm Deb from DG Reads. If you're new here, me too. I am about to leave for work, but it's Friday, and tonight kicks off the 48-hour weekend of peace for Realmathon. So I figured I'd do a little intro now just to get things going and hold myself accountable. All right, I'm back. It was a long work day, but I'm home and ready for the weekend. So, what is this weekend? This weekend is the Weekend of Peace for Realmathon, which is a month-long readathon hosted by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. And this weekend is a 48-hour readathon within it, where you get bonus points for reading this weekend, basically. Every book in gets bonus points, so the idea is to try to get to some shorter reads and get a bunch in. I am on Team Shadows, which is hosted by Mel from Melanor Reads and Lexi from Books with Lexi, and we are the team that gets bonus points for black covers and for buildings on the cover, so if possible I'm going to try to hit those as well, but really my goal is just to read a bunch of stuff that I've been really wanting to read. I don't have a set TBR really going into the weekend, but I'm hoping to get to some poetry books because those are quick reads. I have a couple of short memoirs, particularly on audio, since I do have to leave the house for a little bit tomorrow. It would be good to listen to something in the car. And I am hoping to at least get to one Darcy Coates because she's pretty much a staple author for me when it comes to readathons. And I have a lot of novellas from fantasy series that I would like to get to as well. The kickoff sprints have actually already started a couple hours ago, but I decided I was going to run the readathon in my time zone in California, which is a couple hours later, just so I could be home and cozy with my reading. I put a poll on Bookstagram to ask what genre I should start with, and it's only been up for a couple of hours, but I did just check it, and horror is currently in the lead, so I'm going to go with that. If the lead changes, maybe I'll make that my next genre. I am therefore going to pick up a Darcy Coates, and one that I actually have on my TBR for this month is The Hollow Dead, which is book 4 in her Gravekeeper series. It just came out relatively recently, and there's no audiobook for it yet, but they do read pretty quickly. It's not that long of a book. I'm counting on being able to get through it in a few hours and definitely move on to something else tonight. This series follows Kira. She wakes up with amnesia, just knowing that there's someone after her, and she can talk to ghosts. So she winds up in a Kylie's here. She winds up working in a graveyard where she can talk to some of the resident ghosts and help them along potentially. And it's the type of series that has a lot of sort of over-the-top characters and a lot of drama, but they're really fun reads, and I've been enjoying the series a lot, and I've been looking forward to getting to this one as well. So that'll be my first read of the readathon, and I've got about 20 minutes to get settled and get reading. All right, it's coming up on midnight, which means we're nearly 5 hours into the readathon here in California. So I thought I would do a little recap because I'm definitely ready to head for bed and start fresh in the morning. I did finish The Hollow Dead by Darcy Coates and had a good time with it. It's not one of my favorites in the series, but there were some fun elements. There were some laugh out loud moments. There were some new settings. We got a creepy setting, which was a lot of fun. It was more so focused on the overarching plot of the series, the big bad, than the actual ghosts and the gravekeeper setting that we spend a lot of these books in. There were definitely some plot conveniences, things where the main character just figured the right thing out at the right moment, and overall, it was good. It was probably a 3.5. Not my favorite from Darcy Coates, but still a good time. And the other thing I've been up to this evening is while I was making dinner and eating dinner, I needed an audiobook. So I started on Writing and Writers by C.S. Lewis. This is a collection that I received from Harper One for a book tour probably about 2 years ago, and spent a little bit of time flipping through it, but didn't actually read it. And so I picked up the audiobook for this from the library, and I've been enjoying it so far. What this is a collection of the different quotes and passages and various writings that C.S. Lewis has made on topics related to literature, poetry, all sorts of things. It's a lot of really short passages sometimes. It's things taken out of letters, but it's been really interesting. It's kind of funny because this one has a whole chapter on poetry. The Hollow Dead had a whole poetry storyline kind of going on with one of the ghosts that Kira was dealing with. So tomorrow I will be delving into some poetry, but for now I'm going to be delving into some sleep.
My adorable little reminder that it's time to get up and get to the reading. You're adorable.
It's Saturday, a rainy Saturday actually, but I am ready to get back into some reading. I've actually started a little bit this morning because I didn't want to get out of bed until my furry wake up committee here decided it was time. I did go ahead and finish on Writing and Writers by C.S. Lewis. I overall enjoyed this. It did at the end or toward the end of the book go into him critiquing other books and other writers. Not all of his opinions I necessarily loved, but it was an interesting experience nonetheless. I think I'm giving it a 4. Just the nature of it being a jumble of quotes and passages and things taken out of other contexts didn't 100% flow perfectly for me, but still a good time. I then it's a nice easy read, and the Audible version that's included with a membership is narrated by Scarlett Johansson, which is kind of fun and interesting. And then my goal is to move on to poetry because I have a couple of collections. This one is Pretty Boys Are Poisonous by Megan Fox. This one was sent to me by Gallery Books a little while back, and so it looks like a really quick read. They are pretty short poems, so I will be working on that as well. And then I have a couple other collections to get to that I'll tell you about when I read them. All right, it's a couple hours later, I think, than the last time I checked in, and I did finish Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Not a lot to say about it, but it was fun. Audio book was great for being able to get ready for the day, get my coffee, get settled, all of that. And then I also finished Pretty Boys Are Poisonous by Megan Fox, which is a poetry collection. I actually wound up really enjoying this. Some of the poems really hit hard. There's definitely grief and pain, all of that coming through this. It's primarily about her experience and not so great experience with men. It's illustrated. There's some really cool, very dark illustrations as well. I'm being a little awkward holding things because I have a lap full of dog at the moment. But anyway, this was a fun experience. And then I checked in on Bookstagram what the current status of the poll I put up yesterday, and indeed the final or semifinal outcome changed and fantasy won. So I'm moving on next to, if I can hold it properly, The Reaper. And this is a novella. It's about 99 pages by Melissa K. Rourke. And it's book 4.5 in the Lady of Darkness series. So I'm excited to get to this one so then I can move on to the final book in the series. Okay, I finished The Reaper. I have been loving the series. I started it earlier this month as a buddy read and didn't really know what to expect going into it, but several people had been praising it, and I am happy to say I am one of those now. The character development is fantastic. You really get to know the characters, appreciate their connections to each other, and the way they communicate, and the found family aspects. This novella gave us a little bit of a backstory on one of the characters, and it just was a really good time. It was a quick read and a good fantasy read to fit my last poll results, and now I think I'm going to go back into some poetry. I've finished a couple more things to tell you about, one being Pocahontas, which is a collection of poems by Tay Tibble. And this was kindly sent to me by Knopf, and I was looking forward to reading it because this cover, first off, is gorgeous. This is a collection of different types of poetry. There's some that are more like essays and narrative, and some that are more of what I would think of as a traditional poem. Hits a lot of different subjects, a lot of mythology, modern stuff. There's references to things like Game of Thrones. I definitely preferred some of the mythology and some of the cultural things that were discussed in here. It was really interesting. I really liked her thoughts on a lot of things. She talked about Medusa and how Medusa is called a monster. And one of the lines that stood out to me, in fact, it must be difficult not to sprout a head of snakes in a society that constantly hisses at you. So she had some interesting takes on things. So this was a really good one. And then after that, I picked up Stolen by Sophie Bones. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. This is a fairy tale retelling in poetry or in verse, and just happened to come across this author on Twitter. Somebody had retweeted something where they were promoting their books as being on KU, so I decided to pick this one up. I love a good retelling, so this one is a retelling of Rapunzel, and it was just a fun time. There were a few rhymes that felt a bit strained or forced, but the story was fun and a change of pace for my normal reading. Now it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In about an hour, I need to start thinking about leaving the house. I'm going out for a nice dinner in Beverly Hills tonight for my aunt's birthday, and actually have to put on something other than the PJs I've been wearing around the house today. So I think what I'm going to do is pick up a novella next. That should, I think, take me about an hour before I have to actually start moving and being a little more productive with my day. And Kylie is wanting to play fetch with her squeaky ball while I'm recording. So that's on the agenda as well. And I'll check in later. All right, it's about 4 o'clock, which means I need to start hitting the road. A couple updates. I did just finish The Fall, which is the 0.5 novella in the Bound in the Broken series by Ryan Cahill. I really enjoyed it. I'm intrigued about the world, the dragons, the characters that I read about. I like the writing. It did leave me wanting more context and more information, but I think that's pretty normal when you're reading a novella from a series that you haven't started yet. There is debate on whether you read the point 0.5 before book 1 or after book 1. I read it before starting the series, so I think you could do it either way and get different information out of it maybe. But I'm looking forward to continuing picking up book 1. I'm going to be buddy reading that with a couple of people next month, so that'll be good. And then for driving purposes, since I do have about 2 hours worth of driving in my immediate future, so I picked up the audiobook for Scritch Scratch, which is a middle grade, I think, a horror novel I've been wanting to get to. It's only about 7 hours on audio if I played it at normal speed, which is not normal for me. So I can get through a lot of it on my drive today. And it has buildings on the cover, so bonus points there. So that's what's up next for me. And then I will be back this evening after a nice dinner. And hopefully we'll get home with some energy to do some more reading. On my way out the door, and I got a package from Macmillan. So let's see what I got. Something's rattling. Books usually don't rattle. All right. It is, Trail of Lost Hearts, the new Tracy Garvis Graves novel that came out. I think it's out now. It came out recently. Could be wrong. I have enjoyed one of her books in the past, so that's fun. From St. Martin's. And a compass. So in case I get lost on the way to dinner, I'm all set. All right, I really am leaving now. Bye. It is now nearly 11 o'clock. Kylie's in full-on chaos mode. I had a trip to the library, picked up a couple of books while I was there, and dropped some off, and then went into Beverly Hills to Lowry's, which is a restaurant that our family has used for special occasions since well before I was born. And had a nice roast beef dinner, brought Kylie home some scraps, which she was happy about, and it was a good evening. I also did some reading while I was out. So I finished Scritch Scratch. I did most of this in the car coming and going from the restaurant, but finished it up when I got home and hopped on some reading sprints and had a good time with it. This is a middle grade horror. It's following Claire, who is a young woman who does not like the paranormal, a little bit scared of it, but her dad runs a ghost tour and she gets roped in by family obligation to help him out one night. Problem being that there is a very real ghost who follows her home and starts terrorizing her until she can figure out what's going on. There's a lot of sort of relationship angst going on in here, friendship wise. Her best friend has a new friend, there's some jealousies there, and some of that wasn't necessarily what I was looking for in the book, but the ghost part, the haunting part, that was really fun. Some good creepy moments. The audiobook was excellent. This overall getting a 4 stars. So really enjoyed that. And then since I've been home while I was on the reading sprints, I did pick up a couple volumes of Blood on the Tracks to get some pages in tonight and a couple more books to submit. So I finished both of those. It is a very dark series. It is very well illustrated. I really like it, but the illustrations are definitely dark. And then next up, I am planning to read Night of Cake and Puppets. This is book 1.5 in the Daughter of Smoke and Bones trilogy. I just read the first book this month, or last month actually, and I enjoyed it. That was a reread for me, but I never continued the series. So this time I'm very much determined to actually follow through on continuing the series. And this is a novella. It's about 250 pages, but there are a lot of illustrations in here as well. I think the audiobook is only like 4 hours maybe. So I think, with pages like this, I should get through it very quickly. May try to finish it tonight, probably, maybe not. But we'll get up and hopefully get a good start in the morning. So I think that's it for me tonight, and I will carry on tomorrow. Kylie and I are having a cozy PJs day. She's even got her PJs on over here, and she's enjoying some lap time while I read and watch some reading sprints and get the day going. It's been a bit of a lazy start to the day, but coffee has been achieved and reading has begun. I started by finishing off Night of Cake and Puppets, which is the 1.5 novella after Daughter of Smoke and Bones. I have book 2 in this trilogy on my Magical Readathon TBR for next month, so I definitely will be continuing. And bonus, since I picked this up at the library yesterday, it has buildings on the back cover, so that's great. This was a lot of fun. I did pick up the audio from the library as well, but enjoyed following along as there's illustrations throughout. Cute and sometimes creepy. So this was a lot of fun to read and a good start to the day. This is the story of Susanna and her crush and, finally reaching out, making contact. You get both her perspective and his perspective, and it was really cute. From here, I am going to be reading some volumes, 1 or 2 or more, of Promised Neverland. I'm currently on volume 6, and I have hard copies from the library sitting on the stairs behind me, but cute puppy here is in my lap, and so I decided to just pick it up from the library on my Kindle so I can just read on there and not have to disturb her. I've still got almost 9 hours left in the readathon, so I'm hoping to get some more things in. I've also been slowly making my way through the Amazon Originals collection, the Obsessions collection, which is a set of 6 short stories. I've read the first 4. They've been enjoyable. Not anything hugely exciting, but they're fun, quick reads, little twists. They're thrillers and a lot of black covers, which help out the team. And so I've got 2 more left in that collection that I'm hoping to get in today as well. So that's the Sunday plan, and I'll check in later. It's about 2:30 and it's very stormy, very windy outside. So I made some soup and have been eating that, and I've also been reading. So I finished Foe, which is by Ian Reid, and it was a quick, I think 5-hour audiobook, so decided it would be a good one to pick up because it's got a very black cover. It's got building on it, so works really well for our bonus points for Team Shadows. This one is about a couple. They live in an isolated setting, and they're basically approached by a stranger as the book opens that the husband has been selected to go to space. And as a result of that, they're going to wind up needing to leave someone behind with his wife, who will not be going with him. And it's just a very strained sort of relationship thing, how they're going to function. They have this stranger who keeps coming to them, interfering with their relationship. It was okay. It wasn't a new favorite by any means. It was a little bit slow for as quick of a read as it was. Kylie's trying to go for my soup. And I found some of the big twists to be a little bit predictable, but it was still an entertaining read. I needed an audiobook in particular while I was up and getting stuff done today. I'm going to be winding up picking up a random audiobook because, again, I have a few things I need to get done, and most of my books sitting around here are physical reads, so we'll see what the library or Hoopla has quickly on offer for me. It is now 8 o'clock, which means the readathon ended for me an hour ago, and that means I'm here to do a wrap up. So since last I did an update, I finished a couple more things. I wound up reading a total of 4 volumes of The Promised Neverland. This is a series that I've really been enjoying. The series starts with a bunch of children with Emma as their ringleader, and they are being taken care of in a home by a woman they call Mother. They go to classes, they get tested, they're told that they're the top children, and then things go really awry from there. If you read the synopsis, it gives you a lot, but I think going into it without knowing too much is the better idea. And things have changed a lot since that first volume, and I really can't say much about it, but I'm really enjoying, and I'm glad I was able to get to some of those volumes for the readathon. And then lastly, as I think I had mentioned, I needed a random extra audiobook to get stuff done, and I wound up picking up The Snow by Flint Maxwell. Didn't know anything about it other than I had flagged it on Hoopla at one point, I think for a past readathon if I needed something short because it was only a few hours on audio. And it's set in a world where it's 4th of July weekend and all of a sudden there's snow and lots of snow and it's freezing. And no one's quite sure what's going on, but things go very dark. It took a while to get going for such a short novel. Really, you have to get to the halfway mark before anything starts happening, but it is book 1 in a 5-book series. I'm not sure by the end of it if I'm really motivated to pick up the next one, but since they are all short and they are all available through my library on Hoopla, I'd keep it in mind for a future readathon. Snowy horror tends to work for me, so I think maybe if the series keeps going in a good direction, I may wind up really enjoying the further volumes more. So the readathon was a success. I did have to leave the house for a little while, but pretty much read all waking hours other than one dinner. And I wound up reading 22 things. Mind you, a good chunk of those were short, but that still feels like a good number. I'm pretty happy with how things went. I got a lot of good defense points for Team Shadows and read about 3,500 pages. Again, manga and poetry both read quickly, so that number goes up fast, but still very happy with how 48 hours of reading turned out. If you are watching all the way to the end, thank you so much for being here for my first vlog. I had a lot of fun doing it, and definitely some things I could have done better. Might rethink the idea of making a 48-hour, 22-book readathon be the first thing I try to talk about, but it was a fun experience anyway. If you are still here, please feel free to like, comment, let me know below what things you might want to see from me in the future. Other than that, thank you so much, so much for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.